Okay. Wow. I just want to say that first up because this is massive news. Ford are returning to Le Mans to fight for overall victory in 2027. This is actually happening. Ford versus Ferrari 2.0. I'm blown away. We are in an absolute crazy time. Sports car racing is on fire. The media is on fire because of what Ford has just dropped. We are coming off of this crazy bombshell announcement of Ford returning to Le Mans, Ford entering the World Endurance Championship, and this American giant coming in to prototype racing for the first time in quite some time. All that and more in just a moment's time. But I gotta collect my thoughts because we're coming off of this announcement. This is my instant reaction. We've literally just seen this kind of been announced. At least it's been about 30 minutes or so. I had to get everything set up for this live stream, and here we are. We're covering it. I want to make sure I get my full reaction here. Get everybody, get all of you talking about this because this announcement is just unbelievable. I'm going to break it all down. But yes, it's true. Ford is back in prototype endurance racing. There is a lot to break down. First off, I want to say it's just me tonight. David isn't joining us because it is like the literal middle of the night where he's at. Right now, as of recording this, it's about 6:30 p.m. local time where I'm at. 6:30 p.m. that is. And it's something that I wasn't expecting to live stream today, but hey, here we are. We're covering this news, and that's what I want to make sure I do. So yeah, let's get into it. So Ford are building an LMDh car, not an LMH. Now, this was rumored for quite some time. We've heard quite a bit of rumors over the last few weeks, last few months, of Ford being interested in returning to prototype endurance racing with an LMDh. This was always going to be the case, I think. So no big, huge announcement there. The engine, chassis, any internals of the car hasn't really been confirmed right now. This is very early stages. So right now, it's kind of, there's a lot of unknown when it comes to this news. It was basically announced in this live stream. That's what I can kind of say. This live stream that Ford did to prepare for the 2025 season, and right at the end, they announced the LMDh news. I knew that it was likely going to come in the live stream, so I had myself prepare in terms of getting a video ready. And by the way, I will have a full breakdown up tomorrow morning on the Ford LMDh news and this whole thing going on. But during that live stream, right at the end, we got confirmation that Ford is indeed returning to Le Mans to fight for overall victory, and they're going to be doing it in 2027. But yeah, as I mentioned before, the internals of the car haven't really been confirmed. I will break down a further explanation in my video on the possibilities of that. But for me, I want to mention that I think Multimatic could be the chassis supplier. Considering they are building an LMDh, Ford has to pick between one of the 4 chassis suppliers. So this includes Orica, Dallara, Ligier, and of course Multimatic. Now, if Ford goes with Multimatic, which I believe is a very big possibility, considering the fact that Multimatic is of course a integral part of the Ford brand. They run the entries in the IMSA GTD Pro class, at least the Multimatic Motorsports group does. And I think it's just inevitable that kind of gets confirmed later down the line. Ford with this Multimatic partnership could go long. I think that's a great possibility. I do think that there was rumors going on that Orica was going to be the chassis supplier. I think that's still a possibility as well. So to me, very high possibility that's going to be Multimatic. Also a possibility that it could be Orica though. So just keep your eyes on the news. I will for sure come over and explain anything if I hear any updates on the chassis. In terms of the engine, I think we can all kind of assume that Ford is going to be picking a V8. They can do another type of engine. Ford has done V6s in the past, so that's a possibility, but I don't see it happening. Ford is a legendary brand when it comes to the V8 engine, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But we do know for a fact that they are joining the grid of the World Endurance Championship in 2027. So not this year, not next, the year after, in 2027. They will be joining alongside a couple other manufacturers. So we know for a fact that there will be 10 brands on the grid at Le Mans and in the WEC in 2027. Ford, of course, being a part of them. In 2026, we have Genesis joining with that brand new GMR 001, which has the Orica chassis. It has a lot of components which have already been confirmed. If you want a full breakdown on the Genesis program, I made a video which I'll link in the description down below. First off, I want to say thank you so much to everybody who's joined so far. We have almost 100 viewers, which is pretty crazy considering all this was not planned. You know, we didn't expect to go live here, or at least I didn't. But here we go. We're covering the news, and that's exactly what I want to do. I want to make sure that we cover the news. But yeah, so where was I? Ford LMDh. We know that's going to be confirmed. We don't know the internals, at least for now. We know that the car is making its debut in 2027. Oh, and this is the thing I wanted to mention as well, because this is kind of important. In terms of the team, it's going to be a full factory effort. So that's very important to keep in mind. However, there's also a possibility that a customer team could get involved in some way. We've seen this before in the past in motorsports, of course, in the WEC, IMSA, etc. But yeah, so Ford could definitely link up with another brand. There are 3 possibilities which I think could they link up with. I will mention those possibilities in my video later on. I don't want to give away them because I don't know, I just be repeating myself. But I do want to point out that one of those teams, at least on my list, is Multimatic Motorsports, who of course are an integral part if Multimatic is the chassis supplier, as what we think is going to happen. They will most likely be the team that's going to be collaborating. They're already going to be a key collaborator in the program, considering Multimatic's history with Ford. That's, I think, a no-brainer for me. So we'll see. But this is just massive news. It really is massive news. Back in 2023, we got the news that Aston Martin was joining. To me, that was like, wow, this is pretty big considering what was going on with the Valkyrie at the time, considering that the program was paused. Aston Martin had been really involved in that. And then we had Genesis. For me, that was kind of like, that was a little bit more of a surprising thing. I was expecting another manufacturer to come. I didn't expect it to be Genesis. But this one is different because it's Ford. And the reason why I say Ford is because when we think of Ford at Le Mans, or actually let me dial it back. When we think of Le Mans in general, when we think of the 24 hours of Le Mans, one of the first brands that comes to mind is Ford. Of course, they aren't the most successful. Porsche are the most successful. They have 19 overall victories and counting. By the way, they could get victory number 20 as they did at Daytona just a few days ago. But Ford are not the most successful brand at Le Mans. And they've only achieved 4 overall victories, which I can get into in just a moment. But it's really because of how iconic that era was, how iconic the battle was. Of course, we all know the Ford versus Ferrari battle. I think that is probably one of the most legendary rivalries in all of motorsport. I think I can kind of make that claim there. So yeah, this is great news. This is really good news for sports car endurance racing, that Ford is back in prototype endurance racing. The fact is that they're entering in 2027, and this is a very, very promising sign for these regulations as well. I talked about this in the previous live stream I did yesterday with my good friends Chris, GT Rain, and Stu off in the S's. Check out the stream. I'll put a link in the description as well. It's also on the community tab of this channel. But what I was talking about in there was kind of like this growth that we're seeing of the LMH and LMDh regulations. When we hit the 2024 season, we kind of thought like, okay, where are things going to be heading from here? Are they going to get even more, is things going to get even better than what we have right now? And to me, I kind of thought, yeah, I think that's the possibility. And then when the regulations were extended until at least 2029, to me, that was a sign that this is working. We knew it was working, but it's also going to attract more manufacturers. And that's exactly what happened. And by the way, viewers, keep your eyes on the news as well, because Ford might not be the only manufacturer confirming an LMDh program. We might see a little bit of papaya on the grid, just to hint that there. Maybe I'll put a video soon when I get a chance about... We all get the idea. It's McLaren. I might do a video later on about McLaren. But all this news about Ford joining, and then we got a bunch of racing happening as well. It's been quite chaotic in terms of all the content that needs to be put out. Now, one factor I want to point out. Oh, and by the way, actually, before I get that, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who's joined so far. Again, another huge support in terms of this. Over 135 live viewers right now. Great to see that you're all following along. I really appreciate that. I really, really do. Thank you so much. And it really does mean the world to me to have you all here. Even if it's for something as unexpected as this. I want to make sure that we get to covering whatever news comes out across the media or across a brand like this, with Ford releasing this news. I want to make sure that we get right on it. You know, this is like a news broadcast center. You know, we're covering instant news. This is my instant reaction. I haven't had any time to write any notes. This is all me just going off and just talking, really. This is all just in my head. I have no notes, literally no notes. But anyway, the subject that I wanted to talk about, because I think this is something else that's kind of interesting to point out, and I'll touch a little bit more on this when it comes to my full breakdown of this news later on. And yeah, that should be coming out in the morning, at least from where I'm at. And that news is that Ford have only confirmed to enter the World Endurance Championship. They haven't confirmed to join IMSA just yet, at least. Now, for Ford, I think that it's going to be a no-brainer that they enter IMSA at one point. To me, it's more about when that's going to be. When Genesis confirmed their intention to join with an LMDh, I believe they confirmed both WEC and IMSA at one point, but, and this is still how it is right now, Genesis aren't joining IMSA immediately with that GMR 001. They're coming a year later. And the reason why I bring up Genesis is because this is exactly the same situation with Ford, at least in my opinion. And what I see is that Ford are here, they have a car, they're going to go to Le Mans. Le Mans is the target for them. That's always been the target for them in terms of this idea of prototype endurance racing. Now, Ford, of course, is a massive brand in America. Of course, they're based in America. They're one of the most popular manufacturers here in terms of road car sales. So it would be very beneficial for them to enter IMSA as well on a marketing standpoint. There are many more factors as to why they would join IMSA. However, I believe that WEC is the priority right now, at least for Ford. And then in the future, we can get them joining in IMSA. My idea of this and what I've heard, the people I've talked to, and just the information that I've been relayed and researched is that Ford are coming in 2028. And that is to the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship grid. So I think what will happen is that Ford will join with this LMDh car for the first round of the WEC season, which could be at Lusail, the Qatar 1812 kilometer, if that round continues to be the season opener in 2027. We will see how that goes, of course, later on. But after 2027, I think Ford will continue to race in the WEC in 2028. We know these regulations are going to be there. But then I think they're also going to expand into IMSA in 2028 as well, which would allow them to race at events like the Rolex 24 at Daytona, the 12 Hours of Sebring, Motul Petit Le Mans, etc. So there's a lot to break down here in terms of all that. So right now, Ford are only joining the WEC, but take that with a grain of salt. I think that they're going to be joining an IMSA, and they're going to be announcing their plans to join IMSA very shortly. Back in the summer of 2024, John Doonan, president of IMSA, mentioned that there are multiple manufacturers looking to get involved in IMSA. This was before Genesis was announced. This was before Ford was announced. But this was right when the extension of the LMH and LMDh rule sets were confirmed. Now, One of those manufacturers that was rumored was Genesis. The other one was Ford. There was another one, which was McLaren. And there was a fourth one, which it's still kind of unconfirmed and all that sort of thing. But yeah, it's gonna be absolutely. Oh, hold on a second. I guess I did a typo. Ford return to prototype. Oh, yeah, I did do a typo. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can fix that real quickly. I might be able to do that just here. Hold on, just a moment. It says there's a U in there. I don't know why. See, this is how unprepared I am. This is literally right after all the news kind of came out, and I just had to quickly put a title together and all this sort of thing. So I wasn't I wasn't prepared or anything like that. Where is that? Let me just quickly fix that so it's doesn't have a U in there, because that of course is not real. One moment. Boom, there we go. Okay, fixed it. Thank you so much for the correction. I would have definitely not seen that. But yeah, so where are we going from here? That's kind of the question. We still have quite a while until the 2027 comes about. We still have the 2025 season, and then we still have the 2026 season to come as well. So we got about 3 years until things actually no, 2 years until things kind of come for Ford. But wow, this is huge. And I think I want to mention one more thing here when in terms of all these crazy notes that I have in my head here. I wanted to make sure that we mention that this is not Ford's first time in prototype endurance racing. At the top of your screen here on this live stream I have, the part that I just corrected, it says Ford return to prototype endurance racing. And the word I want to point out here is return. It's not their first time in prototype endurance racing. This is a comeback for Ford. And the thing is that Ford's actually been involved in prototype endurance racing for quite some time. It's just been a couple of years, to say it lightly. After all the Le Mans victories came, of course, we had that amazing battle with Ford and Ferrari. We kind of all know the story of that. I can explain that more in detail in another video and another live stream. Basically, though, Ford won 66, 67, 68, and 69 with their cars. They absolutely dominated in terms of results. Of course, they had major competition. We had Ferrari, and actually a car that folks, and at least what I've noticed, have kind of been overlooked was Porsche's 908, I think it was, in 1969. We actually had the closest ever finish of Le Mans. And that was when Porsche and Ford had their battle, and Ford eventually won out by Porsche. I don't remember the exact gap it was. I'd have to look back at the numbers there. But yeah, Ford did beat Porsche in 1969, but they never won since. They've never won overall since 1969. What's not really known to a lot of fans is Ford's participation in prototype endurance racing, and at least at Le Mans overall, after 1969, because there are a few more entries that they did along the way. One in particular entry that I want to mention, and this is kind of the more common one, is the C100. It's called the Ford C100. Now, this car was a Group 6 car. It existed in the 80s. It was actually one of the first Group C cars to ever hit the track at Le Mans. Ford was rivaling with Porsche, and Lancia was there. When I did my video about the Lancia LC1 and LC2 entries, Ford was a manufacturer that I did mention. But yeah, the C100 was a Group 6. Then it became a Group C in, I believe, 1981. In 1982, the car continued to race. And it continued to race for quite some time after that. But Ford's factory program decided to pull out. They pulled the plug on the C100 program. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the C100 is Ford's last prototype car that competed at Le Mans for overall victory. At least I think that fact is true. So yeah, that was 1982. That was Ford's last appearance in prototype endurance racing at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So Ford in 1982, that was, but after that, they did have a few other prototype cars, but they didn't compete at Le Mans. You had the entries that there's not a lot of success that came with these entries, by the way. You had the Ford Mustang GTP, which raced in, I believe, 1983 and 1984. Then you also had the revised version of that car, or at least the upgraded version. That car from Zach Speed Racing. I think it was developed, it was built, and it was run by Zach Speed, that German team that also won the 24 Hours of Nürburgring with those Vipers much later on from this period. But yeah, they entered the Ford Probe GTP, which I believe existed in IMSA in 1984, 5, and 6. Maybe 5 and 6. Someone can correct me on that. But yeah, I think it's for sure 5 and 6, 85 and 86. There was the Ford Probe GTP. That car and its predecessor only achieved one single victory. The previous prototype, the Mustang GTP, got victory at the Road America event in IMSA. I think that was it was the season opener, so I think it was 1983. I want to say. And then the Probe got victory at my home track, Laguna Seca, in 1986, and I believe it was German Klaus Ludwig, I think. Klaus Ludwig. I can't pronounce his name very well, I'm sorry. But yeah, so that was kind of how it all went. And since then, Ford has made appearances as an engine supplier, but never with like a factory effort, or at least with a car. As we know, Ford engines propelled many cars to victory. You think back to the Riley and Scott Mark III, which won Daytona in 1997 and 1999. And then most recently, I think Ford competed in prototype endurance racing as an engine supplier for the Chip Ganassi run Daytona prototypes from Riley. And I think that their last race was 2016, Rolex 24. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at in terms of Ford. Their last appearance, though, at Le Mans was 1982, at least with a prototype effort. Of course, Ford has competed in many other types of classes for endurance racing. You name the GT that competed in the GT Pro category of WEC, and it also competed in GTLM of IMSA. That car was iconic. You know, it won Le Mans debut in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. And then, of course, we have the new Ford, which is the Mustang GT3. And by the way, this shouldn't affect the Mustang GT3. So the prototype should compete alongside the GT3 variant. So, yeah, there's a lot to break down here. You know, we've been covering this for almost 25 minutes now, and I could go on and on about Ford. And don't worry if you're looking for a recap, because I know some comments are kind of coming in asking for kind of a recap of everything. That will be coming with a video later on the YouTube channel. Immediately after I get done with this live stream, I'm going to work for the rest of the night on the video. I'm going to get it out as fast as I possibly can. I was planning on doing a video about the Porsche Penske win at Daytona. I'm still working on that. And hopefully I'll be able to do both. They just won't come today, at least, because there's a lot to cover. Let me get some water and then I will continue. Yeah, so for me right now, it's almost 7 p.m. Kind of still early in the night, but for a lot of folks, I'm sure watching, it's a very different time zone. Whether you're on the East Coast of the US, you're over in Europe, you're over in Japan, or somewhere else in the world, it's a completely different time zone. So I'm honestly surprised that we have almost 200 viewers right now, which is absolutely incredible to see. So thank you so much. Make sure to hit the like button as well. That's something that I definitely would like to see. Another factor as well, this is something actually that was mentioned down in the comments here from a comment from Fernando, who says there aren't many circuits with much garage space. And see, this is a factor that I want to bring up later on in another video, which I'll get into in a bit. And that is the space on the grid. We're losing spaces. We know that Genesis is coming. We know that that other brands are looking to join. There's more privateer entries. I know Proton Competition was interested in joining. Aston Martin are joining in 2025, this year, of course. And then there's the boutique brands as well. We have Isotta Fraschini, who right now it doesn't look like they're joining, but Who knows? They could join at one point. We know that Van Wall is interested in making a comeback. Unfortunately, for all you Glickenhaus fans out there, that is not happening. I don't see that happening in the near future. I think that program is, it's hard to say, but I think it's done. But yeah, so there's not a lot of space on the grid. And so to have Ford, which will likely bring 2 entries, maybe even a customer car like Porsche are doing, or another manufacturer, I think that for me, Ford coming in, they're definitely going to have 2 cars. That's a fact. I think that's 100% confirmed. For customer cars, Proton competition, I think they could switch to Ford. I think that's a no-brainer for me. Although I do love those Porsches. I really do. And for anybody that's unaware of this, my favorite car across all the grids of GTP hypercar is the black and gold Mustang sampling Proton competition Porsche. I love that car so much. I've seen it in person twice before. I've seen that car up close. I've almost touched the car. I've been in touching distance of it. It is one of the coolest cars out on the grid, and I would hate to see it go if Proton moved to Ford. But they were already a part of Ford, and we get an extra Ford on the grid. So I guess that would be an improvement. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about the teams and stuff like that. Someone just mentioned in the comments CGR, that's Chip Ganassi Racing. Yes, that's a team that's rumored as well. I'll talk about that later on. And I will get into something in just a moment, but we have another comment that says, this is from Ricky, who mentions, what's your favorite car in general? Ooh, so that's a hard pick for me because I want to make sure that that all the cars, car in general in terms of motorsport all over, or favorite car in hypercar and GTP. If I was to say favorite car in motorsport ever, there's one car that always comes to my mind. I've seen it in person many times before. It's the Mazda 787B. I have a picture of it on my wall. I also have a soft spot for this, the Porsche 917K, which is actually pictured on my, wherever I'm pointing, there. It's actually pictured on my wall right there. That's how much I like that car so much. And behind my screen here, I have a Ferrari T312B. And I also love that car from F1. But yeah, that's my pick. So, where are we now? I wanted to talk about, we already talked about WEC, we already talked about IMSA, where Ford is going with their, we know that the program will be continuously with the GT program, at least the GT Mustangs will continue to be on the grid. I would hope until at least the end of the decade. That would be great. And we know that Ford is coming to the WEC in 2027. So, I'm running out of thoughts here, but there was one thing I wanted to mention in particular. Hopefully it will come back to me in just a little bit. But yeah, Ford are joining the grid in 2027. I know I keep saying that over and over, but it's true. I want to keep mentioning it, especially if there are newer viewers joining in. Welcome to anybody who's joining in. This kind of was hinted at quite a few weeks ago. I believe Marshall Pruitt from Racer.com first kind of put out the idea that Ford are interested in returning. There were a few other articles out there. I covered a video in it. There were a lot of people saying that this was going to be happening. And here we are. Ford announced it. And yeah, this is true. This is actually happening. Ford are returning in 2027. Yeah, but it's going to be really great to see Ford back. I can't wait. I mean, I think that one of the biggest factors is this is Ford versus Ferrari 2.0. This is the first time that both of these manufacturers will be on the same exact grid in overall capacity. Ford and Ferrari have been in prototype ranks for a while now, but they've never really been on the grid together at one point. This is the first time this has happened since the 60s. This is absolutely incredible. If you're still uncertain about calling this the golden age of sports car endurance racing, maybe this is this is the nail in the coffin, I guess. I don't know if that's the right reference, but yeah, I think that for me, this really says that this is the golden age. And we have a comment coming in that says this is the platinum age. Yes, it is the platinum age basically, because this really is the platinum age. That's what I've been kind of talking about. John Doonan mentioned it. Multiple people have mentioned it, because this really is an amazing time. I think there are a few manufacturers which are missing from this list. I think there are always going to be, if we think about it, so far McLaren are missing. We could see that change though. I think that there are two brands in particular for me that are missing. Actually, maybe three important brands that are missing from this entire thing that I would love to see. It would make this complete thing, just make it the best. It would make it the best era ever. Those manufacturers are Audi. Of course, I'm an Audi fanboy. I've been that way for quite some time. I really do enjoy those R10s and R8s and R15s and all the cars that competed from this iconic German brand. Mercedes are also missing as well. They are joining LMDh, so maybe that could lead to a potential program. And the third manufacturer that is missing from this entire sports car endurance racing prototype age is Jaguar. That's at least my opinion. Jag is, it's the situation, what's going on with the company nowadays. I don't think they're going to be entering anytime soon. I don't think it's going to be happening in this era at least. But yeah, those are the three manufacturers I would say are missing from this list. Man, I'm starting to lose my voice. But yeah, Ford are back. It's good to see them back. It's good to get some more news out there. We knew that 2025 would start out with a banger, but I didn't think it would start like this. Ford versus Ferrari. The era has returned. We've been waiting a long time to say those names together in the same sentence. Ferrari, of course, have won Le Mans overall for the last 2 years with the 499P. They are going for victory number 12, I believe. 12? Yeah, 12. Victory number 12 in 2025. And I think that BMW, BMW, why did I think BMW? Ford, that's what I meant to say. Ford versus Ferrari, it's going to be epic. I don't think when Ford joins in 2027 that they'll be instantly competitive. I think that Ford's going to take some time to get used to things. Remember, this brand hasn't been competing in prototype racing with a car since the 80s. I believe the last time, like I said, was with those Mustang GTPs. And I want to say it's like 1987 was the last time they had like a fully fledged factory effort. But yeah, this is going to be a long time. This is going to be a long time for Ford. Thankfully Ford, they have experience from the GT categories, so that will be put to good use. So another factor I want to mention is the drivers. We don't know anything right now in terms of the drivers. We don't know exactly who will be a part of the lineups in the WEC. What was the other thing I was going to mention? Yeah, we don't know the drivers. We don't know the drivers at all. One driver in particular that I want to mention though is Mike Rockenfeller. I think that he's almost certainly going to be a part of that lineup. When we look at Mike Rockenfeller, and I think I'll mention this in my video as well, because he's a driver that should definitely be involved in this. Rockenfeller is probably one of the most experienced drivers, a part of the Ford lineup. He may even be the most experienced. We're talking 24 hours of Nürburgring overall winner, 24 hours of Daytona overall winner, 24 hours of Le Mans overall winner, a prototype driver in this era as well. He's driven for the he's driven the customer Porsche 963s for both JDC Miller and a one-off appearance for Proton Competition's Mustang sampling car at Long Beach just last year. So I think that there's a lot of drivers that are going to be involved. We have one comment saying Hand will be involved. So Joey Hand, yeah, I think that he's definitely a driver to be involved in this this part. I think that after the win from the drivers in the GTD Pro class at Daytona recently, spoiler alert, I hope that you saw that. I want to make sure there's no upset after all this. So the Ford lineup that consists in the 65, I think all the GT drivers could have a chance of going in. Dennis Olsen in particular, I think, is a driver that should be a part of that lineup. You could also argue that Harry Tinknell could be involved. He's an experienced racer. He's also has connections with Multimatic. However, and he's driven a Ford car before, of course, in GTD Pro. However, he has now been confirmed to join Aston Martin with their Valkyrie, who, of course, that Aston Martin car has connections with Multimatic as well. That's why Harry Tinknell is in that car. I think he's going to be driving the 007 in the WEC in 2025, which will be great to see. But yeah, he could. I mean, it's possible Ford could bring him back. Who knows? So there's quite a few drivers. That's the great thing about Ford, is that they have quite a few drivers to pick from. If they go with Chip Ganassi Racing, if Chip Ganassi Racing is a key collaborator, which could very well happen, one driver that I could definitely see making the step over is Scott Dixon, who, of course, is part of the Chip Ganassi Racing squad. Of course, he is only a driver that would be coming over for select events like Le Mans, Daytona, as we saw before. Alex Palou is another driver. Of course, then again, I'm talking like if these drivers are still affiliated with these teams and manufacturers by the time 2027 comes. We still have a long way to go, folks. A long way to go until that kind of all happens. But yeah, so there's a few names there, and we'll get into that at another point. It's also possible that some of their junior drivers get promoted. I think that we just had a comment that said the exact same thing. Ford also announced a roster of junior drivers. Yes, they did. They sure did. They sure did put in some more drivers into their junior academy. So it's possible that a lot of those drivers, or drivers that are in Ford's junior ranks, could come up and potentially join the squad. You look at drivers like Mathieu Jaminet. Jaminet is a perfect example. You know, he was just racing in I think it was the Porsche Carrera Cup, and then now he's a factory driver for the Porsche Penske Motorsport team in both the WEC and IMSA. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. So that's the news. Ford are joining the World Endurance Championship in 2027 to compete at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. It is time for Ford to be back in prototype racing. I am so happy I can say that now. But yeah, it's great to see them back. Another American manufacturer, one that I really have a lot of just, I really appreciate. You know, I really support them wherever they go. I was really supporting them when they, during the Rolex 24 Daytona recently. They're one of my favorite brands across any racing. So to have them here is just absolutely incredible. Oh, and big thank you so much for the Zero mentioned a $5 donation. Really appreciate that. The super chat and this comment, I'll read it here especially. It says, "This is really a big move for Ford. They will be making F1 engines for Red Bull and full GT3 program, and now a 4-car team in IMSA and the WEC." Wow. And wow, indeed. You know, Ford are back, and this is just a massive thing for them. This is huge. This is huge from Ford. This is really going to propel them up the ranks in terms of this may even help them on the road car sales. Imagine if they win Le Mans, you know, imagine if they win Le Mans. If they win at the Circuit de la Sarthe and they tie it back, of course, to the legendary, they beat Ferrari again. You know, Ferrari are obviously going to be competitive for the next couple of years, as we've seen. I think that would be massive. That would be massive. That would be so big. A comment coming in from Carson who says, "Jonah, great job on the channel. We used to race F1 leagues and your channel got recommended. Keep it up." Oh, I do kind of, well, I mean, I've been racing in F1 leagues for quite some time. Maybe if you could post your, the league that we did do, I can't remember the name of the league. If you can do that, that would be great. Oh, and another super chat. Thank you so much. From Jose, who asks, "Are we in the golden years of racing again?" Yes, I'm going to say that. I'm comfortable in saying that. I think we are definitely in the golden age of sports car endurance racing. This is really amazing. And I think outside of the WEC, outside of sports car endurance racing, it seems that motorsport in general is looking pretty good. I kind of have that in mind with Formula One. If you look at Formula One here, and I do believe a comment came up in regard to Formula One. And also keep in mind, Ford are also joining Formula One with Red Bull. So that's another factor. But my point is that Formula One is in a pretty good stage right now with the 2026 regulations coming in. You have the likes of Cadillac, Honda, I believe Ford, of course, Mercedes, Ferrari, and I think that's it of all the engine suppliers. And Audi, of course. I think that's all of them now. Renault was an engine supplier until they axed that program, and Alpine is now becoming a Mercedes customer team in Formula One. But we do have a question actually on the subject of Formula One, and don't worry, I will get back to endurance racing. I'm not going away. By the way, this channel was originally a Formula One YouTube channel, hence the name. But I have a comment coming in that says, Jonah, what's your opinion on the 2026 Cadillac F1 car? I would love to see it. I'm really excited for it. I'm really excited to see that Cadillac are entering Formula One. GM are back in Formula One or entering for the first time, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's going to be great. As a fan of Cadillac as a brand as well as a fan of GM, I think that it'd be great to see them back. I'm hoping that they pick up a few cool drivers along the way. I'm hoping that for a driver like maybe Colton Herta could be a part of the F1 lineup. So we'll definitely see how it goes. But anyway, let's get back to the conversation of endurance racing and just in general the whole comments. I'm gonna read a lot of these comments here. We have one comment that says from Ben, formulajonah subbed, but first time catching you live streaming. Would you consider doing it regularly? I do try and do it on a regular basis. We do try and do at least one live stream, maybe a week or so. We're going to be doing, and I say we because myself and David here, by the way. I try and do a live stream with David, at least for every race. I want to try and do a watch along for every single event in the WEC and IMSA this season. There are going to be some times when I'm not going to be able to. IMSA in particular, I want to mention, because there are going to be races like Laguna Seca. I think I might be going to that in person. So I might not be able to live stream because I'm going to be there. And there might be another event too. So there's times like that. And the WEC, sometimes the races are like 2 a.m. in the morning for me. And so I can't live stream. I'd be so tired. It don't think it would work out for me. Actually, that's a really good question I want to ask. I wanted to put this up on a community post, but I guess I'll do it here just to see what you all think about this. There are a few streams, as I mentioned, that I won't be able to make. For example, I think the Qatar 1812 kilometer is something I won't be able to stream because it's going to be like something like 3 a.m. in the morning. If I wasn't here live streaming, would all of you be okay with maybe, for example, David taking over for live streaming duties for that race? We would get more content. We really did. I would probably be in the chat. I just probably wouldn't be live streaming because I would be very tired, most likely because of me going to being half asleep basically because it's so late in the night. But yeah, that's something I'm definitely considering doing. Like maybe there's a few streams which I can't make, which we could have David maybe take over or somebody else or something like that, because I think that why not? I mean, the more content, the better, right? And I'll still be here. I'll still be here in any way possible. But yeah, we'll definitely see if we can do that. As long as an event kind of comes around. We have a comment saying Long Beach is a good race weekend to do a watch on. It sure is. I know that last year we tried doing it, and I don't remember why we couldn't do it. Something happened. Oh no, I did a race review on Long Beach and a race preview. That's actually an event I'm considering going to very shortly. So I might be there in person instead. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes though. What are your thoughts on the Lamborghini GT3, the new Temerario? So I think this is a good move for Lamborghini. From the Huracan. The Huracan is a great car, of course. We love that car, but something new. I think it's cool. Lamborghini. This could allow them to get back into the WEC in LMDh, but we'll see. We'll see how that kind of turns out. We had a comment coming back a few moments ago that said endurance Jonah instead of formula Jonah. You know, that could work. I have considered it. I've considered potentially changing the channel name in the past. Also, great work, sir. Catch you later. Thanks so much for joining in. Really appreciate you dropping by. Yeah, going back on the channel name for a bit, I have thought about changing it because obviously formula is more of an F1 term. It's still relevant to endurance racing. I also have like a hat and I have like all the details, so it'd be quite a pain to change. I have considered maybe FJ Sports Car, FJ Endurance, maybe something like that. That would keep this logo, that would keep everything the same, just the name would slightly change. So I'm considering it, but we'll see how that goes later on in life. Hey Jonah, thanks for the news. Can't wait for the reveal of Ford's LMDh. Also, I miss your hypercar updates, but I don't know if those vids are only during the WEC season. So, speaking of hypercar updates, for those unaware, if anybody's new to the channel or hasn't seen it or whatever, Hypercar Updates was a series that I created, I think back in 2023. It was a kind of like a rundown, month-to-month rundown of the news of GTP, hypercar, anything you want on prototype endurance racing when it came to the top classes of the WEC and IMSA. They're all, to add back to your question here, Elite, I think that the hypercar updates go beyond the WEC season. They were supposed to be monthly. I really wanted to do it. I wanted to continue it on. I think the last one I did was a couple months ago. The reason why I haven't been able to do it is because those videos take almost 24 hours straight to work on. They take a lot of time. And so with all the news and the expansion of our new Intercontinental GT Challenge coverage, there's a lot to cover, and I honestly don't have time to do it on a monthly basis. So I'm still kind of unsure what to do about hypercar updates. I'd like to keep it going. I really would. I had considered dropping the series entirely, but I know a lot of fans do like it. I know that I like it. It just takes a lot of time doing things. If I had more time, if I had like, I don't know, if I had like a better way of doing things, or I don't know, I guess, I don't know, if I had more time and if there wasn't so much going on, but I don't think that's going to stop. I think I would be doing a hypercar updates video every month. That's how it was beforehand. I wasn't as busy as I am now with the content, but I'm kind of glad that I'm busy. It's quite fun. Comment coming in from Friedrich, who asks, do you think Van Wall has a chance to return for Le Mans? Okay. Here's the deal. I love Van Wall, I really do, but I don't think they have a chance to return to Le Mans, at least this year. It won't be in 2025. I'm kind of confused what the deal is with Van Wall. I need to get in contact with them again and see kind of how things were. I talked with them in the past. Things were looking pretty good for a 2025 debut, and then things didn't happen, of course. So, there's a lot to consider, but yeah, I would like to see them back, but I don't see it in the near future. Maybe 2026, but at least not 2025. I don't see it happening. When is the Bathurst 12 hour? This weekend. It's this weekend. It is going to be happening on February 2nd at 5:45 a.m. local time. So the race will be taking place in Australia, of course, with the Mount Panorama circuit. If you would like an update on everything Bathurst 12-hour content, check out the recent video, which just came out today. I just finished it. I just posted it. This is a video that I've been working on or at least something I've been wanting to do for a while. I'm just getting into the subject of more content on Intercontinental GT. So we got 2 videos on the Bathurst 12-hour. We got one on the entry list, which you should definitely check out. I got another video, which was the race preview. I plan to do a third Bathurst 12-hour video, but with all this Ford news, that might not be happening. So we'll see how that goes. You can watch it, as one of the comments just pointed out, on GT World YouTube channel, Bathurst 12-hour YouTube channel. So a lot of places to watch, and yeah, it's a great race, really is. I've been watching it for quite some time, and it has some of the best manufacturers, some of the best teams, some of the best drivers. A part of the entire series. Hi, I just got into watching endurance racing, and your channel has been incredibly useful to understanding everything. Thank you, and keep going. Thank you so much for the support. It really does mean the world to me. I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate just your continued support, and that you're just getting into it, but you found this to be really helpful. You know, I've mentioned this a couple times before. I won't get into it too far because that it's kind of off topic, but here we are. For me, one of the reasons why I started this YouTube channel was to help people. That's really why I wanted to do it. I'm not in this for the money. I'm not in this for anything personal gain for me. It's really just, I just want to spread endurance racing content, talk about what I love, which is this, and I want to make sure that I help people understand the world of endurance racing, because for me, sometimes, like with motorsport terms, it's hard to kind of grasp what they all mean. You know, there's a lot going on. So for any new fan out there, I'm sure a lot of this stuff can be kind of confusing. So I want to make sure that I see you. I want to make sure that I hear you. I want to make sure that I can help you in any way. But I also want to make sure that I'm spreading information to anybody who's been here for quite some time and has been watching sports car endurance racing or just motorsports in general for decades or years or whatever, you know. I've been doing this channel for a couple years now, and I really do enjoy it, and I'm going to continue it because I really do like this. But yeah, so any more questions, feel free to let us know down in the comments below. Otherwise, in a bit, we're going to be most likely shutting off the stream. I am so thankful for the support that we've seen. We got to 200 viewers live. I wasn't expecting it, considering that this news kind of came pretty sudden. But then again, it's pretty big news. I also want to I don't want to wear out my voice too much, because I have to record the video later on today. And by the way, that's how like this all happens, you know. I literally go right behind me and I record everything that I do, and then sometimes I try and I schedule the video and it comes out. Sometimes it's literally minutes before that I finish the video and it's out. That's why it's like that's why I'm talking about it, because I haven't really done much for the Ford stuff. I did get some tips beforehand that there was some news coming, so I have a little bit of information in terms of everything to share. So I'm hoping that I can get this out in the morning for you all. But yeah, so Bathurst 12 Hour is coming this weekend. That's the next hit endurance race. After that, the next big endurance race is the Qatar 1812 kilometer. That's the WEC season opener. Aston Martin is debuting their car. Genesis is coming next year in 2026. And Ford, of course, is coming the year after. Yeah, so let's see here. Let me get some water. Hold on. We have a comment coming in that says, what do you think happens with the privateer WEC teams with the addition of the 2 Ford and 2 Genesis LMDh cars coming, and the potential of the 2 McLarens as well? Okay, so I did like a full breakdown of this over on GT Rain's YouTube channel. Make sure to check out the video that we did over there, the live stream. That was a lot of fun. I really appreciated Chris and Stu having me on there for that. So I did a full breakdown of it, but I'll quickly kind of say what I think. I think what should potentially happen with this the grid inevitably expanding is that the WEC either needs to ask some of these tracks or go to different tracks, so there can be more garage spaces. I think that's a factor. Ultimately, if nothing really changed in terms of the garage spaces or teams or whatever, we're going to run out of space. I think that's inevitable, unless the WEC wants to expand just a tiny bit more. I don't know how that all works, but very, very interesting for sure. Also, we got a comment from a very famous YouTuber in the comments below. Make sure to go subscribe to him, by the way. Very exciting times for endurance racing. It seems to be just getting bigger and better. Yes, it does. It really does. And I echo your comment here, Otto. And I think that yeah, it's a beautiful time to be alive in sports car endurance racing with this absolute golden age that we're in, this platinum age, as some have called it. But yeah, just a great time. Where was I though? With the LMH and LMDh wheel sets. I think that a possibility is expanding into another championship. Maybe there's a smaller support series for the WEC, or maybe there's like an ALMS or ELMS. We've seen in the past how ELMS has kind of been like this beginner stage for a lot of the WEC teams. We've seen like Spirit of Le Mans, for example. They're going up to WEC with their Aston Martin in the LMGT3 category this year. They're running the number 10 entry. But I think that there needs to be a situation where like maybe boutique manufacturers and customer entries can go in another championship, like for example, maybe IMSA. But then again, IMSA's kind of doing their own thing. It's a little bit different. So it needs to be like some sort of support series or something kind of like what IMSA does with the VP Racing Sports Car Challenge, but a little bit smaller and maybe not too overwhelming. But I think that it would be good for allowing customer entries and to allow privateer entries, or I mean, not privateer, I mean boutique brands like Van Wall, for example. But yeah, I don't know. It's a really difficult situation because obviously we know that there's not a lot of space in the WEC. There's not a lot of space overall. So there are more entries coming. That's inevitable. We know for certain there will be at least 6 more cars coming onto the grid from Ford, Genesis, and potentially McLaren as well. So we know that for a fact. So I don't know. I think it's really about creating a support series or something like that. And then at Le Mans, instead of allowing LMP2 cars to come, which is still cool, I would love to see that, but maybe allow those customer entries or maybe half the LMP2 grid. And for example, if there were 16 LMP2 cars on the grid at Le Mans, half of that grid could be LMP2 and the other half, the other spaces could all be for the support series customer entry. So that'd be like the Proton Porsche if it goes in there, or the customer Ferrari, or the I don't know, the Van Wall, or something like that. So I think that's definitely a possibility. We'll see how it goes. It's a big conversation, and I do plan on doing some sort of coverage on it a little bit later on. So I think this is kind of where we end off here for this live stream. Again, kind of unexpected. I didn't really plan on doing this, but hey, here we are. We're doing it, and I think that I'm so happy to see the support that we've had here. It's been real. It's been really cool. I really do. I didn't really expect to see a ton of support or this much support as we got, especially considering that I'm the only one here. I probably do need more breaks and stuff like that, but yeah, it's great. It's great to see. So here's what's going on. I'm going to sign off here, and we're going to be coming out with a YouTube video on this news of Ford. You get a recap of everything relating to this and more. A more detailed, more precise, a quicker video. Check that out in the morning. It's going to be coming at around 7 a.m. PST. So that's going to be right in the morning for me. That is going to be, I can't convert every time zone, but I believe that's around 10 a.m. Eastern U.S. time. And I want to say that's about, if my calculations are correct, so 10, probably around 4, I want to say 4 p.m. BST. I can't remember the exact data on that, but it's going to come out at 7 a.m. PST, the same time as a lot of the videos do. So thank you so much for joining me for this live stream. It's confirmed. Ford are joining the World Endurance Championship in 2025, and they're bringing a LMDh car in 2025. I meant 2027. Ford are coming in 2027 with an LMDh car, and they are going to be returning to Le Mans to fight for overall victory for the first time since 1982. And we will most definitely see the Ford versus Ferrari rivalry back in motorsport 2.0. It's coming here. Let's get ready for what's coming next in motorsport. Stay tuned for that video. Have a great rest of your day, night, wherever you are across the world. I'm formulajonah signing off.